After agreeing to the delivery guy's proposal, I discovered he was actually a hidden billionaire CEO. My scumbag ex was devastated with regret. I had been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 7 long years, pouring my heart and soul into keeping things going. But all I got in return was a man who said one thing to my face and did another behind my back. He even had the audacity to humiliate me at a reunion, calling me an old woman no one would want after the breakup. I turned around and married the delivery guy who had admired me for years. As it turned out, he was secretly a wealthy and powerful CEO. And my ex, he regretted it, feared it, tried to endure it, and then finally broke down, begging for forgiveness. I laughed and said, "Do you think you're even worthy of speaking to me now?" I had been in a relationship with Nathan since we graduated, a marathon of love that lasted 7 years. We were both busy with our careers, and our families had started pressing us to get married. I'd been dropping hints left and right, but Nathan remained completely unmoved. At a college reunion, everyone was busy showing off their kids or flaunting their relationships. Nathan, he didn't say a single word about marriage. It wasn't until I returned from the restroom that I overheard him bragging to his friends at the table. "Why would I get married? Marriage is just a cage for love. Olivia is pathetic, I don't need to marry her. She's already waiting on me hand and foot every single day." Nathan had worked his way up to a middle management position after years of effort. Normally, he was cautious and reserved, always keeping a low profile. But now, his disgusting true colors were on full display. He shamelessly used me as a punchline, degrading me to make himself look better in front of his old classmates. He bragged about how impressive he was, claiming that I worshipped him and was madly in love with him. One of our female classmates couldn't take it anymore and confronted him. "How could you say something like that about Liv after 7 years together? Liv treats you so well. How can you humiliate her like this in front of everyone?" Nathan wasn't even fazed. He slammed his glass down on the table and sneered. "What did I say? I'm talking about that old woman, Olivia. If I wasn't with her, who else would even want her?" He downed half a glass of beer in one gulp, looking smug as he continued his tirade. "Women, once they hit a certain age, are like worthless old products. It's just like in business, the fresher the product, the better the prospects. The longer you delay marriage, the more obedient she'll become." Nathan, who usually acted so proper, was now spewing such vile nonsense that even the men at the table were murmuring their disapproval. I stood by the door, taking it all in through the gap. 7 years, 7 long years. I thought we were working hard together for our future, but in Nathan's eyes, it was nothing more than a game of manipulation. "I'll never propose to her," he declared, drunk and emboldened. If Olivia knew what was good for her, she'd have already figured out her worth. She should be the one begging me to let her into the family. I couldn't listen to another word. I burst into the room, grabbed a glass of wine from the table, and threw it in Nathan's face. "Let's break up, you jerk. I wasted 7 years raising a dog, and today that dog is dead." I didn't hold back. There was no reason to. The moment he insulted me behind my back, it was over between us. "I'll live," Nathan stammered, clearly panicked for a moment. But just seconds later, his arrogance returned. "What do you mean? You want to break up with me?" I let out a cold laugh. "What, you can't understand plain English? 7 years of being a dog and you still don't act human?" We stood there, locked in a standoff, the tension in the room so thick you could cut it with a knife. Just then, Ethan, an old classmate who now worked as a delivery driver, walked in. Back in college, he was the golden boy everyone admired, and he'd even pursued me at one point. Years later, he still looked as handsome as ever, though now he was just a delivery guy. Carrying 2 bags of bubble tea, Ethan rushed in, apologizing as he sat down. "Sorry, everyone just had to finish a delivery, so I'm a bit late." Ethan's cheerful demeanor didn't do much to diffuse the awkward atmosphere. The room was silent, and Nathan and I seemed ready to explode at any moment. Ethan looked back and forth between us, confused. "What's going on here? Did I miss the game?" "Olivia, watch your damn mouth." Nathan stood up, pointing a finger at me as he shouted, like he was ready to get physical. "Your mom was begging me just yesterday, asking me to treat you well." Nathan, full of pompous pride, turned my mother's concern into his personal bragging point. He had the nerve to smirk and say, "Look at yourself. Without me, who would want a nearly 30-year-old woman like you?" As Nathan continued his vivid insults, Ethan, who had just sat down, quickly grasped the situation. Unlike the others in the room, who remained silent, Ethan couldn't let it slide. Back in college, he'd written me love letters and confessed his feelings for me. Hearing Nathan's words, he looked like he was ready to jump to my defense. But before Ethan could say anything, I grabbed a plate of salty fish from the table and slammed it right into Nathan's face. "Nathan, take a good look at yourself in the mirror. Do you really think you're some kind of catch?" Nathan might have gotten into college and landed a junior manager role, but his current demeanor was enough to make any woman want to flee. My parents had warned me early on about his arrogance and unreliability. His snobby parents back in the small town were painfully money-driven. Still, I had convinced myself that Nathan was hardworking and ambitious, at least when he was with me. As long as he loved me and had me in his heart, I thought it wouldn't matter if our wedding was delayed. Looking back now, he was clearly trying to manipulate me by dragging out the engagement. "Let's not even talk about your parents," I said, leaving some dignity for them, though I had no desire to stoop low enough to insult them. "But you, this pathetic excuse of a man. Do you honestly think I can't live without you?" I took away the plate of fish, and the strange salty aroma filled the room. Nathan's expression was priceless, his face contorted like a soap opera villain. He unleashed venomous curses at me, declaring that no one would marry me in this life or even the next. Nathan, who was acting more like a scorned drama queen than I was, didn't realize Ethan had stood up, ready to defend me. Ethan's expression was a mix of concern and worry, the kind that made it obvious he still cared deeply for me after all these years. Every Christmas, he'd send me emails and chocolates, the same tradition he'd started years ago. I remembered rejecting his confession one Christmas Eve during our sophomore year. He had said, "Even if we're just friends forever, I'll still buy you chocolates every year." "Ethan, are you married?" I asked, surprising everyone around me as I walked straight to his side. Even Ethan was taken aback, stumbling over his words. No, I'm not," he finally managed to reply. And that day, I made the most impulsive yet decisive choice of my life. "Ethan, will you marry me?" I took a deep breath and, under the astonished gaze of everyone present, proposed to him. I couldn't bear to let my mom worry any longer, nor did I want to deal with endless rounds of nagging from relatives about settling down. Besides, Ethan, handsome, hardworking, and reliable, seemed like the perfect gamble. The room erupted with a mix of reactions, some entertained, some shocked. Others tried to talk me out of it. "Liv, marriage isn't something you decide on a whim, like buying groceries after work," one classmate said. "Exactly, you can't just impulsively get married," said another, a mom cradling her toddler. She gave Ethan a once-over, her eyes lingering on his delivery uniform, and shook her head as if to imply he wasn't trustworthy. But I ignored the murmurs and kept my gaze firmly on Ethan. "Ethan, will you marry me?" I repeated. The crowd fell silent, realizing I wasn't joking. Only my ex-boyfriend, Nathan, broke the quiet, fumbling with his soup-stained clothes and muttering profanities. "Olivia, you've officially lost your mind." Ethan's eyes, previously filled with worry, suddenly turned serious and full of emotion. "Olivia, are you serious?" he asked earnestly. I sighed, feeling a bit exasperated. After all, I had my pride too, and proposing in front of so many old classmates was embarrassing enough. Lowering my voice, I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Help me out here, even if it's just a favor. Don't leave me hanging, okay?" Ethan's face lit up with amusement at my plea. He straightened up and declared, "If you're serious, I'm all in." With a grin, he opened the bag of drinks he'd brought with him. Inside was my favorite strawberry cheesecake milk tea, 5 sugar, no ice. I couldn't believe he still remembered my preferences after all these years. "Olivia, will you marry me?" Ethan asked, holding the milk tea like it was a ring and dropping down on one knee. I couldn't help but laugh at his mix of sincerity and absurdity. Despite the lighthearted gesture, I felt the depth of his emotions. Nathan, meanwhile, burst into laughter, whipping out his phone to record the scene. "Are you kidding me? Is this some kind of comedy show for the reunion?" Nathan said, laughing so hard he nearly fell over. To him, Ethan's earnestness seemed laughable and embarrassing. But the other classmates, especially the women, started to cheer Ethan on. "As long as someone genuinely loves me, who cares if there's no diamond ring? Drinking milk tea on my wedding day sounds perfect. Right, you can always buy a ring later." Opportunities like this are too rare to pass up. The chatter grew louder. Even the toddlers in their mother's arms seemed fascinated by the drama unfolding. Nathan tried to interject. Dude, delivering food doesn't exactly make bank. Can you even afford a ring in 3 months? Ethan ignored the noise around him, his focus solely on me. His seriousness caught me off guard and made me smile. I wasn't looking to marry money. If I were, why would I have wasted 7 years of my youth on Nathan? All right, I said, meeting Ethan's gaze with a grin. I'll marry you. And just like that, the simple and impromptu proposal ceremony was complete. The entire private room erupted into a chorus of cheers and applause. The joyous atmosphere was contagious. Everyone seemed genuinely happy, everyone except Nathan. He sat there, looking like a lost dog no one cared about, earning nothing but disapproving stares from everyone present. Nathan suddenly flipped the table in a fit of hysteria. Well, Olivia, so this is your choice, huh? His voice dripped with venom. You're actually going to spend your life with this delivery guy? He sneered, leaning into his tirade. Fine, go ahead, get married, live your fairy tale. But mark my words, if I don't see your wedding favors, I'll mock you both for the rest of my life. He spat out the words like poison. Blind, pathetic woman, and a broke, powerless boy toy. Let's see how long you two can enjoy this charade. With that, he waved his hand dramatically and barked for the waiter to bring the check. Not only that, but he ordered another round of dishes, despite the fact that he was leaving. True to his nature, Nathan couldn't resist a final show of bravado, blowing half a month's salary on 2 tables of food just to flaunt his generosity. I watched him leave, snorting under my breath. Relief washed over me. Thank God I was free of this face-saving jerk. Turning around, Ethan was holding a bubble tea, carefully inserting the straw into the cup before offering it to me. His voice was gentle, his gesture almost childishly sweet. Hurry up and taste it, he said. The cream cap won't be as good if it melts. I couldn't help but laugh at the man before me, so real, so endearing. It was a refreshing contrast. Honestly, getting rid of that scumbag made the bubble tea even sweeter. I didn't have high expectations for Ethan. If he truly cared about me and treated me well, that was more than enough. As far as my mom was concerned, he'd be the perfect son-in-law, a decent enough guy to keep my family off my back for a while. Without much thought, I grabbed the bubble tea and took a big sip. Watching me, 2 moms who had been defending me earlier couldn't resist diving into gossip mode. So, when's the wedding? One of them ventured, immediately clapping her hand over her mouth as if she'd asked something inappropriate. Before I could even process how to respond, Ethan beat me to it. Later today, he replied firmly. His tone was no longer lighthearted, his expression was serious and resolute. He gently but confidently took my right hand in his, addressing everyone with an air of finality. We'll get our marriage license today. Startled, I almost choked on my bubble tea. Tea today? I stammered, my voice betraying my surprise. And so, at the age of 28, after countless marriage lectures from nosy relatives, I finally got married. To a college classmate who, until recently, worked as a delivery guy. Surrounded by old friends who witnessed the whole thing, I held 2 cups of bubble tea, and just like that, I became Mrs. Ethan. Holding the freshly minted marriage certificate in my hands, I couldn't shake the surreal feeling. How was it that the man I chose, my husband-to-be, suddenly felt like a stranger? Just hours ago, he had been wearing a delivery uniform. Now, he was sitting next to me, dressed in a tailored suit, driving a luxury Bentley. Ethan, I ventured cautiously, glancing at him from the passenger seat. What's up? He asked, his eyes focused on the road ahead. He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, looking every bit the suave businessman. The transformation was complete. He was no longer the cheerful delivery guy. He was, in every sense of the word, the epitome of a powerful CEO. So, delivery work pays this well now? I muttered, running my hand over the plush leather seats, still trying to process everything. The marriage certificate in my hand felt oddly out of place. Ethan chuckled softly. That's just a side gig, he explained, his tone casual. Life gets stressful sometimes. It helps me unwind. Wow, rich people really do have the most peculiar hobbies. In my mind, a guy who could afford a Bentley should have been indulging in wild parties, chasing after women, or at the very least, blowing money on online games or exotic vacations. But Ethan, His idea of fun was delivering takeout. Half an hour later, he pulled up in front of an enormous mansion in a wealthy suburban neighborhood. As I stepped out of the car and took in the opulent surroundings, I was utterly dumbfounded. Every house in this area looked like it cost millions, but Ethan led me straight to the grandest one of all. "Sweetheart, is there anything else about you I don't know?" I asked, half joking, half dazed. The sheer absurdity of it all was making my head spin. Ethan smirked, reaching out to flick my forehead affectionately. "So this is all it takes to win you over, huh? Why didn't you tell me this back in college?" I blurted, looking up at the sky as if searching for answers. Memories of his college attempts to woo me came flooding back, writing poetry on apples, serenading me under the dormitory, waxing poetic about the truths of the universe. Sure, it was romantic, but as a journalism student, I was constantly on the go, chasing stories and meeting deadlines. I simply didn't have the time or patience for his endless musings. Shaking my head, I waved the marriage certificate at him. Well, better late than never, right? I quipped, steering the conversation toward the mansion. "This house is amazing. How much of the mortgage is left?" I couldn't help it. Practicality kicked in. If he'd bought this place outright before we got married, it had nothing to do with me. I wouldn't care. But if we were going to be paying off a mortgage together, I needed to know. The thought of my meager salary going toward a massive mortgage was enough to make me break out in a cold sweat. I turned to Ethan with a serious expression, waiting for his answer. The man was left speechless by my serious demeanor, his face darkened with confusion. "What on earth is going on in that head of yours every day?" I stood still, refusing to take a single step into the house until he gave me an answer. Ethan finally gave up, exasperated. "Paid in full, no mortgage, your salary stays untouched." He reached out and pinched my cheek with a playful smile. "Liv, how can you be this adorable? See, in this world, while some treat me like I'm insignificant, others see me as their treasure." At 28, in Ethan's eyes, I was still the unattainable campus goddess from our college days. To him, I was still the most enchanting Olivia he's ever known. Ethan and Nathan were like night and day. My ex-boyfriend, the jerk, was all about putting on a facade. He got a small managerial position and acted like he was a big shot. Around my mom, he was always arrogant, and when asked for help, he'd complain about how hard his job was, like he was the only one in the world who worked. But Ethan, he was different. Besides managing his business, he'd occasionally deliver food orders and didn't shy away from chores. He even cooked for my mom, and honestly, his culinary skills were top-notch. At first, my mom kept lamenting, wondering how I could end a 7-year relationship just like that. But the moment she laid eyes on my 61, dashing, and impeccably polite new husband, her attitude completely changed. She welcomed him into our home with a grin so wide it could barely be contained. As the saying goes, it's hard to speak ill of someone who's generous and thoughtful. Ethan was both grand and considerate when it came to giving gifts to my parents. He had my mom so charmed that she didn't even complain about me getting married without telling her first. Instead, she was all smiles, eagerly asking when and where Ethan and I were planning to have the wedding. I paused to think. I wasn't entirely sure how wealthy Ethan's family was. To this day, I hadn't even met his parents. Ethan brought it up himself, his tone calm and steady. "My parents passed away in an accident a few years ago," he said. "As for the wedding, however you'd like to have it, Liv, that's how we'll do it." It was only then that I realized my husband, whom I'd chosen on a whim, came with the unexpected bonus of no in-law drama. I suddenly felt a pang of sorrow for Ethan. "Then let's not go overboard," I suggested. "We can just have a small dinner and then take a short trip to a nearby island for a private wedding and honeymoon." Even my mom, who typically loved a lively celebration, praised me for being thoughtful. Ethan ruffled my hair and said, "All right, whatever you want." The trip went off without a hitch. Ethan even hired a photographer to tag along. We shot our wedding photos on the beach, with rose petals scattered across the sand. Lying amidst the petals, I was so overwhelmed with happiness that I was at a loss for words. Ethan kissed my forehead. "Marrying you is the happiest thing that's ever happened to me," he said. I posted a picture of us on social media, a little gift for those who had attended our college reunion and wondered what had happened since. To my surprise, within 5 minutes, over 60 people had liked the post, showering us with well wishes. Even my group chat with close friends was buzzing with excitement. See, I told you, leaving that scumbag would lead you to happiness. Exactly, and look at this guy so handsome. And our Liv is stunning, okay. That jerk didn't cherish her, but that's his loss. Before I could even respond, my friends kept firing off comments in the chat, taking turns roasting Nathan. Suddenly, one of them sent a screenshot. It was a post from that pathetic ex of mine, Nathan. 5 minutes after I announced my marriage, he had uploaded a picture of Ethan in his food delivery uniform, holding a cup of milk tea and proposing to me. His caption read, "7 years of love lost to a food delivery guy. Oh, Olivia, you really must have been starving." Nathan even commented on his own post. Turns out, people from different levels really can't stay together in the end. He added a dramatic broken heart emoji for effect. To someone unaware of the context, it might look like I'd cheated on him. As I fumed over this post, another screenshot from the group chat popped up. This one showed a flood of sympathy comments on Nathan's post. Nathan seized the opportunity to trash talk me, complaining to everyone about how blind I was to dump him and marry some clueless delivery guy. Reading all this, my expression turned a little awkward. I took a deep breath, then plastered on a smile. Ethan noticed something was off and immediately leaned in to ask what was wrong. "Nothing," I said breezily, "just ran into an annoying little fly." Ethan looked skeptical but didn't press further. I quickly typed out a message to my friends. "From now on, don't bother updating me about that scumbag." After hitting send, I grabbed Ethan's hand and pulled him along to admire the sunset over the ocean. I wasn't about to waste my energy getting upset over a loser like Nathan. After all, Ethan's time was far too precious. If Nathan wanted to put on a show, let him. I wasn't going to give him the audience. The rest of our trip was pure bliss. Ethan was romantic, wealthy, and endlessly attentive, a husband as close to perfect as one could imagine. After spending just a few days with him, I felt as if I had been healed, completely forgetting the disgusting 7 years I had endured with that jerk. I originally thought Nathan would never appear in my world again, that there would be no overlap between us anymore. But to my surprise, one afternoon a week later, my phone suddenly started vibrating like crazy. It was Nathan calling. I didn't answer, yet he kept calling over 10 times in a row. "Liv, I was wrong. I'm so sorry," he began, launching into a bewildering confession. He started recounting how he had wronged me back then, dragging his feet on marrying me. Then he moved on to how he shouldn't have acted so arrogantly towards me at the school reunion, how he shouldn't have belittled my character, and how he failed to recognize my worth. By the end of it, Nathan was practically in tears. "Liv, can you forgive me?" he pleaded. Hearing this, I couldn't tell if the sun had risen in the west or if the apocalypse was near. Just a week ago, this self-absorbed guy was insulting me on social media, calling me blind for leaving him. And now here he was, begging pitifully for forgiveness. "Nathan, just spill it. What's going on with you?" I asked, sensing something was definitely off. "Let me guess, you lost money on stocks. Are you calling to borrow money from me?" I nearly burst into laughter, unable to contain my schadenfreude. Nathan, eating humble pie, now that's a sight to see, but to my surprise, he immediately denied it. "No, it's not about borrowing money." "Not about money, huh?" I racked my brain trying to figure out what could make a man suddenly grow a conscience. After ruling out the least likely possibility that he genuinely wanted me back, I couldn't help but sigh deeply. "Nathan, don't tell me you're terminally ill or something. What goes around comes around, and karma spares no one." Less than 2 weeks after insulting me, could it be that the universe had delivered swift justice? Nathan erupted on the other end of the line, his groveling demeanor evaporating in an instant. "Liv, can you stop cursing me for 1 damn second?" he shouted. "If it's not losing money or dying, what is it? Are you trying to piss me off on purpose?" He was back to showing his true colors again. I knew it, nothing good could come of this. If you're not borrowing money, and not on your deathbed repenting, then what the hell do you want from me? Aside from money, I honestly couldn't think of any other reason why this revolting man would suddenly have a change of heart. As soon as I threw the question out there, he muttered a curse under his breath and then cleared his throat. After another deep sigh, he resumed his groveling tone. Nathan had lost his job. 7 years after graduating, just when he'd finally clawed his way up to a junior manager position, he inexplicably got fired. He said he had been doing fine, with steady performance on the projects he led. But shortly after, we broke up more precisely. Right after he posted that smug, insulting comment about me on social media, HR handed him his termination letter. No matter how much he tried to negotiate, even offering to take a pay cut, he couldn't save his job. The company gave him severance pay and sent him on his way. At first he thought, fine, I'll just find another job. But then he discovered that no company in the entire city within the same industry wanted to hire him. I thought I was just blacklisted from this one company, but it turns out I'm blacklisted in the entire city, Nathan exclaimed, his voice growing more agitated. He kept rambling on, repeating the same few sentences over and over. But I finally pieced it together. He got fired. That's it. And what does that have to do with me? I asked. Are you expecting me to support you now, even though I'm married? I swear, I wasn't playing dumb. I genuinely couldn't figure out why Nathan felt the need to apologize to me over this. When he heard my wild speculation, Nathan nearly lost it again. But I could tell he was trying hard to suppress his emotions. He softened his tone and explained. I asked HR about it, and they said I offended someone I shouldn't have. Nathan admitted he had always been cautious, keeping his head down and avoiding conflicts. Not just this past month, over the past 7 years, I've only ever wronged one person. You. He had the audacity to brag about how spotless his reputation was, but to me, his words were nothing short of nauseating. 7 whole years. In that time, I never once asked him for a gift. I never demanded flowers or anything romantic. Back when he couldn't even afford rent after graduation, it was my parents who lent him a helping hand. Everyone around me wondered what I saw in him. I told them it was because he treated me well. But some people are just like dogs. The better you treat them, the more they bite. Nathan was a perfect example of this. The moment he achieved a little bit of success, he completely forgot about all the sacrifices I made for him. Whenever he reunited with old classmates, he would spin ridiculous stories and even put me down to boost his own ego. Nathan, don't you feel ashamed saying this out loud? I shouted, gripping my phone tightly. Do you even have a conscience? If it weren't for the excellent soundproofing in Ethan's mansion, the housekeeper would probably have been startled by my yelling. It's bad enough that you wronged me, but now you're trying to use your unemployment to guilt-trip me. You really think that after being your girlfriend for 7 years, I've turned into your mom, huh? After venting my frustrations into the phone, I finally calmed down. On the other end, Nathan, that utterly clueless fool, weakly asked, So, does that mean you've forgiven me? Can I keep working here? Unbelievable. This scumbag just doesn't know when to quit. It's like he doesn't even understand human language. The moment Nathan spoke again, I lost it. Whether you lose your job or end up rotting on the side of the road, it's got nothing, absolutely nothing to do with me. Whether the company lets you stay or not, go ask HR. Ask your boss. Just don't bother me. With that, I ended the call. When he tried calling back, I blocked him without hesitation. Unexpectedly, Nathan, like the clingiest band-aid you can't peel off, decided to take his antics to the next level. Since I wouldn't give him the time of day, he showed up at my parents' house with bags and bags of vitamins and supplements, making a complete spectacle of himself. When my mom called to tell me, I was dumbfounded. Liv, you wouldn't believe it, she said with vivid detail. Nathan brought over gifts, cleaned the house, and even helped out with chores. If you don't come home soon and put a stop to it, he might even start walking the neighbor's dog. Ever since marrying Ethan, I'd quit my job to focus on studying for certifications at home. But thanks to Nathan, I was just as busy as I used to be at work, except now, all he did was infuriate me. 20 minutes later, I arrived at my parents' house. Nathan was bent over, scrubbing the floor, his back drenched in sweat. Olivia, finally, you're here. The moment he saw me, he dropped the mop and scurried over like an eager puppy. Look at everything I've done. Satisfied? Can you help me get my job back now? Without a second thought, I slapped him across the face. No sugarcoating, no beating around the bush. Nathan, haven't you had enough? What exactly do you want? The man froze, clearly startled by my outburst, and didn't dare say another word. His silence stretched on, and then, unbelievably, his eyes started welling up with tears. What a wimp. Hey, what's going on here? My mom rushed over, clearly siding with Nathan. Can't you talk things through? Why are you yelling at him? Poor Nathan. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought I'd just committed some heinous crime against him. Olivia, Nathan whined, his voice thick with self-pity. Do you have any idea how hard I've worked? I started as an intern making just $3,000 a month. Now, after all this time, I've finally become a supervisor. And then what on earth did you do to ruin me? Now the entire industry looks down on me. His words, accompanied by his tear-streaked face, would have been tragic if they weren't so utterly ridiculous. Turns out, the only thing that could truly make Nathan emotional was his precious paycheck. But come on, I used to just be a small-time journalist. Even if I wanted to expose this jerk, there's no way I'd have that kind of influence. For what felt like the 100th time, I reiterated, since the day we broke up, we've had nothing to do with each other. I, Olivia, am not some bigwig capable of ruining your life. Wait, a bigwig, was it possible? A certain bigwig did come to mind. Could it have been Ethan? Without another word, I pulled out my phone and called him. Unsurprisingly, his male assistant answered, saying Ethan was in a meeting and asking me to wait. I glanced at the time. It would only take me about 15 minutes to get to Ethan's company headquarters by cab. Perfect. I'd never dropped by unannounced before. Today seemed like a good time. Nathan, still desperate for an answer, trailed behind me like a shadow, hailing a cab to follow mine all the way to the headquarters of J Industries. At the entrance, the security guard stopped us. Just as I was about to speak, Nathan cleared his throat and stepped forward. Our company has business dealings with yours. We're here on official matters, so there's no need to register, right? I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly got stuck in my skull. Who knows which company's name Nathan was trying to exploit this time? Leaning close, he whispered to me, I get it when you're asking for favors, you've got to play it smart. If you can help me get my job back, I'll help you get in. Nathan continued to put on airs, hoping the guards would buy his act. But these guards had seen plenty of people like him and weren't about to be fooled. Their disdainful glances at me, however, were a bit much to bear. Just then, Ethan's personal assistant appeared at the door, swiped her card, and greeted me with a respectful, "Ma'am, you're here. Please come in." The guards immediately straightened up and nodded deferentially. "Good day, Mrs. J." Nathan's jaw practically hit the floor. Mrs. J. Her husband's just some delivery guy. I shot him a glare and told the guards, "He's not with me. Don't let him in." Though Ethan's villa had already left me stunned, I'd done some research online about J Industries beforehand. Still, standing before the massive headquarters building, I was momentarily at a loss for words. I'd known Ethan for years during school, but he'd hidden this side of himself far too well. From his daily habits, his calm demeanor, and his fair treatment of others, you'd never imagine Ethan was the kind of extravagant CEO he was reputed to be. Guided by his secretary, I passed by employees and middle managers, all of whom greeted me with warmth and respect, nodding politely as they said hello. When I finally reached Ethan's office, he was still in a meeting and hadn't returned yet, so I had no choice but to sit and wait. By chance, my eyes landed on a photo resting on his desk, a picture of us from that day at the beach. Over the years, Ethan's care for me had always been subtle. Even after we got married, his love remained restrained. Despite his overwhelming workload and the exhaustion he carried home every evening, he would always muster the energy to sit with me, flipping through books or watching shows. Occasionally, he'd even play a game or two with me before bed. Ethan did everything he could to give me all the love he had, and as I touched the photo on his desk, I felt deeply moved once again by this man. Just then, the man himself appeared at the door, knocking politely before stepping in. "Olivia, may I come in?" he asked with a playful smile. It was the first time Ethan had encountered one of my surprise visits, and he seemed more proud than anything else. That little expression of his practically screamed, "I wish I could tell the entire company my wife came to check on me." I remembered why I was there in the first place and asked him directly, "Did you arrange for Nathan's job?" Ethan, who had been in such a cheerful mood, instantly darkened at the mention of this. "Still worried about your ex, are you? Who wouldn't be, after the way he treated you?" Ethan's jealousy was written all over his face. If it weren't for someone from the subsidiary seeing that post on social media, he trailed off, his frustration evident. "Were you planning to never tell me how he bullied you?" No, I quickly denied, feeling the inexplicable pressure Ethan always seemed to exert. I reassured him, explaining that I hadn't meant to hide anything, I just didn't want him to worry. He lost his job and keeps coming to bother me, I admitted. People who know me understand I'm his ex, but those who don't, they might think I'm secretly working as his boss's assistant or something. I coughed, embarrassed, and clarified that I had absolutely nothing to do with Nathan anymore. But he just wouldn't leave me alone. Nathan said you married me because you were desperate, Ethan said coldly. So I figured it was time to show him what desperate really looks like. For the first time, Ethan had abused his authority out of a desire to avenge me. But as it turned out, things didn't go so smoothly. You have no idea how shameless that man can be, I complained. Not only does he come around to apologize every day, but he even started bothering my parents. Hearing me vent, Ethan's jealousy gradually softened into an expression of pure heartache. He thought for a few seconds, then made up his mind. I understand. I'll make sure he's out of New York City for good. I had to admit, Ethan's ability to quickly grasp the situation was impressive, but I wasn't about to let Nathan off the hook so easily. No, I said, letting out a cold laugh. That'd be way too easy for him. An idea popped into my head, and I tilted my head with a sly smile. Tell me, Ethan, if I wanted to dictate how he works, could you make that happen? Ethan looked at me, his face full of indulgent affection. He reached out, gently pinching my cheek, and replied, if it's within the industry, absolutely. I confirmed, even if it's at Nathan's old company. Without a doubt. And so it happened. Nathan returned to his old position, resuming his role as a mid-level manager with the exact same salary, workspace, and equipment as before. The only difference: he was now required to wear a custom-made uniform, a delivery driver's uniform, to be exact. It was entirely his choice: wear it and keep the job, or refuse and lose the position to someone else. If Nathan had the guts to give up his salary and title to start fresh elsewhere, no one would stop him. Nor would anyone force him to wear the uniform. The terms were petty, sure, but ultimately, the decision was his. A month later, at the company's mid-year gala, I accompanied Ethan as his wife, dressed to the nines. My sweeping French-style gown was adorned with shimmering gemstones that sparkled like stars, giving the entire ensemble the air of a wedding dress. Even the jewelry I wore, casually selected, was worth millions of dollars. Ethan had picked everything out for me himself. He explained that the event would include partners from a company where some of our old classmates worked. Hearing this, I understood immediately. My thoughtful husband, who still felt guilty about how simple and rushed our wedding had been, wanted to show everyone just how much he cherished me. Ethan still wanted me, as Mrs. J, to make a stunning entrance in front of everyone, and he succeeded. When we ran into some old classmates, they were utterly shocked. Hey, Liv, didn't you marry that? Before the words delivery guy could leave her mouth, the female classmate was already captivated by Ethan, who stood beside me. The elegant and refined Ethan versus the clumsy delivery guy, could they really be the same person? Ethan. All these years, we've been fooled by our classmate Ethan. The old classmates laughed and teased, blaming Ethan for being so secretive, even keeping things from his friends. Looking at their flattering and ingratiating expressions, I finally understood why Ethan chose to keep things under wraps. After all, it saved him a lot of unnecessary trouble. As we spoke, a figure dressed in a delivery uniform appeared in the corner of the banquet hall. Wait a second, isn't that Nathan, the manager? Why's he delivering food now? Those who had attended that infamous class reunion instantly understood. Nathan, who had mocked and humiliated me in the past, now found himself at rock bottom, while I had found a husband who truly valued me. Naturally, there would be no mercy for him. The classmates, now on the same page, purposely brought their wine glasses over to Nathan in the corner. Hey, Manager Nathan, come on, let's toast to your hard work juggling multiple jobs. Guess you've learned by now how tough it is to be a delivery guy, huh? They laughed and joked, surrounding Nathan. His face flushed red. Even though he had never delivered a single order, he didn't refute them. He just nodded and bowed, offering polite smiles. Are you perhaps trying to emulate Ethan, the big-shot CEO of J Group? Moonlighting for fun after hours. The classmates continued to tease him, and Nathan replied obsequiously, How could I ever compare to Ethan? As he spoke, he glanced in our direction, and I caught a flicker of regret in his eyes. I'm nothing more than a dog of J Group now. Liv, no, Mrs. J, doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. And that's her good fortune. With that, Nathan tilted his head back and downed 2 or 3 glasses in quick succession. I knew he was drowning in regret. No matter how hard he worked outside, he had always been able to relax in my presence. Under my care, we had once shared many happy times, but that jerk didn't know how to cherish it. The mess he's in now, he brought it on himself. Turning away, I grabbed Ethan's hand and walked toward the VIP section of the banquet. Ethan had just told me he invested in a new media company under my name, saying it was time for me to not only hold the title, but also have my own career. Nathan, scumbags, all of them, they were already part of the past. From now on, I'll focus on being Mrs. J, and I'll become a better Olivia. Hearing this, Ethan smiled and nodded approvingly. He firmly squeezed my hand, his eyes filled with affection and love for his wife. End of the first story. Subscribe to my channel if you like my stories. Don't miss the second exciting story. Story 2. After the divorce, Ethan reunited with his first love, and he regretted it. At a college reunion with my husband, Ethan, I encountered his first love, Lily. After the gathering ended, Ethan learned that Lily wasn't doing well. He cornered her against the wall and asked, "How much do you still owe? If you stay with me, I'll give you $10,000 every month. Is that enough?" I stood at the street corner and silently captured the touching moment of their reunion. I sent the photos to my lawyer. At the same time, I forwarded them to Ethan with the caption, "You two seem so deeply connected. Why not just marry her?" As soon as Ethan received my message, he called me. "Sophie, you misunderstood. Lily had a slight case of low blood sugar. I was just helping her out." "Really?" I replied calmly. "You're always so helpful, aren't you?" "Sophie, wait for me in the car. I'll be there soon." I hung up and closed my eyes to rest in the car. Not long after, Ethan returned. His cheek was red, and there was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. It must have been Lily biting him when he tried to kiss her. I handed him a tissue. "You've got blood on your mouth." Ethan glanced at himself in the rear view mirror and forced a casual smile. Must have bumped into something accidentally. This wasn't the first time he lied to me. Every time he was feeling guilty, he'd smile at me like this. I watched his performance with a slight smile. "Did you bump into Lily's teeth?" Ethan's expression stiffened for a moment, and then, with slight irritation, he said, "Sophie, you don't need to be so sarcastic. I already told you, Lily had a sudden low blood sugar issue, and I was just helping her out. It's not what you think." I didn't bother responding further and closed my eyes for a brief rest. When we got home, Ethan went to take a shower. His phone, left on the table, buzzed with a message. It was from Lily, and the notification popped up on the screen. It was a GPS location for a hotel. I glanced at it but didn't touch his phone. His phone's password used to be my birthday, but after he started getting close to the new intern at his company, the password stopped working. I pulled some strings and had the intern fired, and Ethan's attitude toward me subtly shifted afterward. I never expected that after the intern was gone, a first love would come back into the picture. It turns out lying and cheating are a one-time or endless occurrence. I suddenly felt exhausted. I napped briefly on the couch, and soon, Ethan emerged from the bathroom wrapped in his robe. When he picked up his phone, he visibly tensed for a moment before glancing at me with suspicion. Testing the waters, he asked, "Why are you sitting here so late?" "Just tired. Took a short nap." Seeing my calm demeanor, Ethan's nervousness finally eased. After checking Lily's message, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Sophie, something urgent has come up at the company. I need to head over right away." "Oh." Ethan seemed unsure and came over to explain further. "It's about a scheduling issue at the production line. I need to personally check on it." As he spoke, he was already changing into his clothes in the walk-in closet. When he came out, seeing that I was still sitting motionless on the couch, he walked over. "Sophie, get some rest. I'll call you when I get to the company." I rubbed my tired eyes, wondering how much longer I'd have to play along with this charade. I stood up and handed him his coat from the couch. "It's cold at night. Dress warmly." Ethan looked at me, a flicker of surprise passing through his eyes. It took him a moment before he reached out to take the coat. "Sophie." He suddenly grabbed my hand and pressed it to his chest, his voice slightly emotional. "Please wait for me at home." He seemed like he wanted to say more, but I stopped him. "All right, just go." I helped him put on his coat and carefully adjusted the collar, just as I did every day when seeing him off. I knew very well. The moment he stepped out of the door tonight, our marriage was officially over. 2 after Ethan left, I calmly went about my evening routine. There was no more heartache like before. It turns out that once you've been through something, it's easier the second time around. For someone so rotten, even shedding a single tear feels like a waste. I went straight to bed. In the middle of the night, I was awoken by urgent knocking at the door. The knocking was loud and frantic. It turned out to be Victor, Ethan's college buddy. He had brought back a completely drunk Ethan. In front of Victor, I busied myself helping Ethan to bed and feeding him some honey water. Watching me rush around, Victor suddenly spoke up. "Sophie, Ethan was really hurt by Lily in the past. That's why he was so emotional when he saw her today." Bringing up Lily out of nowhere, Victor instantly exposed Ethan's lies. When Ethan was starting his business, Lily left him for a rich guy during his poorest days. He's always carried that resentment. "Thank goodness you were there to help him, Sophie, or he wouldn't be where he is today." I forced a smile. After seeing Victor off, I threw the towel I was wringing into the basin with all my strength. Water splashed everywhere, soaking a part of Ethan's clothes. A bright red lipstick mark stood out on the perfectly white shirt he wore close to his skin. He had showered and changed into clean clothes before heading out. Who would have thought he'd end up looking so disheveled? I felt a wave of disgust and turned to leave. Suddenly, he grabbed me by the arm, mumbling softly, "Lily, Lily, don't leave me." "Lily, just one more chance, just one more." Hearing this, my stomach churned violently with nausea. I wrenched my arm free from his grasp and ran to the bathroom, retching uncontrollably. Only after emptying my stomach and bracing myself against the wall for support did I manage to stand up again. Looking into the mirror, I felt a pang of sorrow for the haggard reflection staring back at me. How had I endured staying with someone so filthy for so long? I resolved to contact a lawyer first thing in the morning to draft the divorce papers. The next morning, when I got to the office, I learned that Victor had hired a new personal assistant. A coworker leaned in and whispered, "That new girl looks so fragile, she doesn't even know how to use Excel." But Vic specifically requested her. It's so strange. "You don't think the boss has taken a liking to her, do you?" Their words brought Lily's face to mind involuntarily. I smiled faintly and shook my head. "I don't know, let's not speculate about the boss's business." Just as I finished speaking, Victor's voice sounded behind me. "Sophia, can you step into my office for a moment?" No one at the company knew I was Victor's wife. He had insisted on keeping our relationship under wraps to prevent workplace gossip. In the office, he treated me no differently than any other colleague. I followed Victor to his office. After closing the door, he stepped forward to embrace me, his tone gentle. "Sophie, I need to discuss something with you." "What is it?" I asked. "My college friend Lily is looking for a job, so I invited her to try working here. Would that be okay with you?" I lightly broke free from his embrace, my tone distant. "Sure. She's inexperienced, so I'll have her assist me for now. I'll personally train her to get up to speed quickly," he explained. "You're not upset, are you?" I replied coolly, "Why would I be upset? You're just helping out a friend." He placed his hands on my shoulders, his gaze evasive. "By the way, about last night, I drank too much with Ethan. Did I cause you any trouble when I got home? Please don't be mad." He was testing me. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of contempt for him. If he wanted to play games, why bother worrying about my feelings? "I'm not mad," I said flatly. "Don't lie. You went straight to the guest room to sleep." "That's not something you'd do if you weren't upset," he pressed. I chuckled, deciding to cut straight to the point. "You were drunk and kept calling out someone else's name. How was I supposed to sleep?" Victor's expression froze, his body tensing with sudden unease. "Whose name did I call?" "It was too muffled to make out," I replied indifferently. Victor visibly relaxed, even attempting to pull me into another embrace. "If you couldn't hear clearly, then how do you know it wasn't your name I was calling?" Disgust bubbled up inside me, and I dodged his touch. Unable to suppress my frustration, I exposed him. "I said I couldn't hear clearly to save you some face. Don't you know who you were calling out for?" Victor's face darkened for a moment, a flicker of guilt flashing in his eyes. but he quickly masked it, furrowing his brows in feigned irritation. Sophia, why are you always so paranoid? Back when that intern, Emily, was here, you were suspicious of everything. Are you so idle that you have nothing better to do? If you have so much free time, why not work on improving yourself? Don't think being my wife means you can just coast along at this company forever. His words were almost laughable. Vic, have you forgotten who stood by your side and helped you hold this company together during your toughest times? Perhaps mentioning our early struggles embarrassed him because his face turned stormy in an instant. Sophia, what's that supposed to mean? Are you trying to take credit? Are you saying my success is all thanks to you? After years of marriage, I had willingly stood in the background, supporting him. Yet all my silent sacrifices were dismissed by him as meaningless. It was heartbreaking. I couldn't bear to listen any longer and turned to leave, but he grabbed me forcefully. I'm not finished talking. What's with your attitude? The sudden pull caused me to lose my balance, and I stumbled, falling hard against the glass coffee table. A sharp edge left a gash on my arm, blood quickly seeping out. Victor's anger vanished instantly when he saw the injury. Sophie, are you okay? Just as he reached out to help me up, there was a knock on the door. He quickly withdrew his hand and returned to his desk, putting on a composed facade. Feeling utterly desolate, I picked myself up and opened the door to leave. Standing outside was Lily. She gave me a coy smile that carried a hint of something unspoken. Sorry, am I interrupting something? She asked. I ignored her and walked away. Back at my desk, coworkers immediately surrounded me. Did you see? The boss set up the new girl's desk right outside his office. Now he only has to look up to see her. Wow, that's so obvious. Totally obvious. I nodded absent-mindedly at their remarks, pulling out my phone to send a message to my lawyer. Prepare a divorce agreement for me, and make it quick. That evening, the company had a team-building event. As the newbie, Lily ended up drinking a lot under the pressure of her colleagues. The manager said, Lily, you're amazing. You've just joined, and you're already the executive assistant to the chairman. You've got to drink to that. She hesitated, but eventually gave in under the coaxing of the crowd, drinking glass after glass until she started to feel tipsy. Victor had been silently watching her the whole time. Then the manager handed me a drink. Sophia, you're the only one at this table who hasn't toasted the new colleague yet. Hurry up and toast her. I took the glass but hadn't said a word before Lily, her eyes brimming with tears, rushed to say, Sophia, please, I'm begging you, spare me. I really can't drink anymore. The way she said it made it seem like I'd been the one forcing all the drinks on her. I set the glass down immediately, but the colleagues didn't stop their raucous behavior. Suddenly, Lily staggered, covering her mouth, and ran out of the room. Victor's face darkened as he slammed his chopsticks onto the table and thundered at me, Sophia, haven't you had enough? Everyone was stunned, and I instantly became the focus of the room's judgment. If you want a drink, do it yourself. Bullying her with the others is that fun for you? Without waiting for my reply, he shoved his chair aside and strode out of the room. The colleagues exchanged awkward glances, and the manager whispered an apology to me, Sophia, I'm sorry. We were just trying to liven up the atmosphere. Who knew Vic would react this way? He's probably thinking we were all following your lead to pressure Lily into drinking, isn't he? Sophia, I'm really sorry you got blamed for this. It's fine, I said with a forced smile. What's the point of defending yourself against a false accusation when nobody wants to listen? If Victor already sees me as a jealous and malicious woman, I have no choice but to bear the brunt of this blame. It's clear that whatever bond we once had is completely shattered. The colleagues kept gossiping. This drink is only 5 alcohol, how could she be that drunk? Exactly, she might just be pretending. Who knows, maybe she's trying to gain sympathy. What a schemer! I tuned out their chatter when my lawyer called me. After taking the call outside, I started heading back, only to run into Lily. Victor had her cornered against a wall, her eyes filled with tears. What do you want? She asked. Sign the agreement, be with me, and I'll pay you $15,000 a month, he demanded. I was about to walk away when I heard Lily's resolute reply. No way, I paused mid-step, suddenly realizing that Lily might not be the kind of woman I had thought she was. Victor chuckled darkly. Are you sure? That night you came on to me. And with all those debts hanging over you, being chased by creditors, it's not exactly a pleasant life, is it? Furious, Lily raised her hand and slapped Victor across the face. You bastard, are you trying to ruin me? Yes, Victor snapped. Either be with me, or I'll let every company in the industry know about you. You'll never find a job again. Victor's voice softened. Lily, I hope you understand no one in this world loves you more than I do. Victor, I won't be the other woman. After a moment of silence, Victor smirked. Do you want me to get divorced? Not happening. Hearing that, I walked away without hesitation. After 5 years of marriage to Victor, I never imagined he could stoop so low, wanting both a mistress and a stable home life. Ridiculous. But none of it mattered anymore. I was going to divorce him. That night, Victor didn't come home. The next morning, Lily also arrived at work late, looking utterly exhausted. I had no time to worry about their sordid affairs. I was busy fine-tuning the details of my divorce agreement with my lawyer. During lunch, my lawyer met me at the cafe near the office and handed me the finalized agreement before leaving. Just as I was about to return to work, Lily suddenly appeared in front of me. She slowly removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes red and swollen from crying. Sophia, I'm desperate. Please help me. I looked at her calmly, saying nothing. Tentatively, she said, last night, Vic was at my place. I remained unmoved. I know. She froze for a moment, perhaps surprised by my lack of reaction. She seemed flustered. Sophia, I swear, I don't want to come between your marriage, but Vic won't leave me alone. Then she began to tell me her story, a tale of a single mother, burdened with debt and abandoned by her ex-boyfriend, who had manipulated her into being a kept woman. It was a heartbreaking story, but what did it have to do with me? I asked her, do you want me to persuade Victor to let you go? Don't you think that's absurd? Or do you want me to divorce him so you can have him? Lily shook her head pitifully. Not at all. I just want to borrow some money from you so I can leave this place. How much? I asked. $100,000. I couldn't help but laugh. This woman must have watched too many soap operas if she thought I'd pay her $100,000 to leave my cheating husband. Lily, I won't make things difficult for you. Here's $500. If you're serious about leaving, a plane ticket can take you anywhere in the world and free you from Victor. Consider this money a sponsorship for you to start your independent life. You don't need to pay it back. I placed $5,000 in cash on the table, turned around, and walked away. The next day, Lily submitted her resignation to the company and disappeared. I was still marveling at the idea that she might have genuinely wanted to leave Victor behind. What I didn't expect was for Victor to storm out of his office the very next moment, as if he'd gone mad. He grabbed me by the arm and yanked me up from my desk, yelling at me, Sophia, what did you do to Lindy? What did I do? I asked, bewildered. Don't play dumb. Lindy's situation was already difficult enough, and you've always been hostile toward her. But now you can't even tolerate her existence. As he spoke, he shoved his phone in my face. On his screen, there was a post from Lily on social media, showing 2 tickets to Melbourne with a caption, 2 p.m. flight this afternoon. Thank you, Miss Sophia, for your help and encouragement. I'll start a new life and do my best. I had already checked my feed and hadn't seen any such post from her. Clearly, this was a message set to be visible only to him. This woman had come crying to me, begging for money so she could escape Victor's control. Yet she had deliberately made sure he knew her flight details. But what kind of game was she playing? What was her ultimate goal? Later, I understood. That day, Victor had resolutely told her, divorce. Never, and just because of that, she betrayed me. I laughed. Turns out, when someone is truly speechless, they really do laugh. You can still laugh. Victor raised his hand and gave me a hard slap across the face. Pointing at me, he said slowly and deliberately, I can't believe you're this kind of woman, cold-hearted and ruthless. I must have been blind to have married someone like you. Our colleagues were all stunned. I was caught off guard, but quickly regained my composure. In our 3 years of marriage, he had never once publicly acknowledged our relationship. Yet today, to defend Lily, he openly admitted it. I looked calmly at his rage-twisted face and nodded. Fine. If you regret it, then let's get a divorce. With that, I threw the divorce papers I had long prepared at his face and walked out without looking back. I returned to my parents' home. When they learned about my decision to divorce, they were furious. I told you that boy's character was questionable, but fine, let it be. It's better this way. Take some time to adjust. Our company's overseas ventures are about to launch, and we'll need you to take charge. I agreed. The next day, I went back to the office to finalize my resignation and hand over my responsibilities. When I arrived, I ran into Victor and Lily. So, she hadn't left after all. Or rather, Victor had truly managed to win back his beloved. I ignored them and continued wrapping up my tasks with my colleagues. Victor walked over, chin held high, and said, "Sophia, come apologize to Lindy. Let's just put yesterday behind us." What a joke. Apologize. For what? For giving her the money for the tickets, or for giving her the courage to leave you? Lily's face turned pale, and she burst into tears. "Victor, please, let me go." Victor stepped in front of Lily, shielding her as he glared at me. "Sophia, how dare you bring up money? To drive Lindy out of my life, you even resorted to using money to humiliate her. Do you even have a conscience? Our marriage wasn't something you could buy with money." I froze for a moment, then chuckled. "Lily, did I humiliate you with money?" Victor held Lily protectively, shouting, "Sophia, apologize now. Victor, don't be so self-assured. Go home and ask your dear lover why I gave her the money in the first place. After all, when I was speaking with my lawyer that day, my recorder was on the entire time. I've got every word she said to me, clear as day." Lily's face turned as white as a sheet, and in the next moment, she fainted. Victor panicked and caught her in his arms, full of concern. I couldn't care less about her pathetic theatrics and turned to leave. Victor, however, stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Apologize to Lindy immediately. She's not in good health. Do you want to make her even sicker?" "Victor, don't you think you're being ridiculous?" he practically roared. "I'm ordering you apologize now." In all my memories of him, he had never spoken to me with such fury. Now, for the sake of his beloved, he was willing to go to any lengths. "Victor, what gives you the right to order me around?" Victor lunged forward, trying to hit me again. I caught his arm in anger. "I won't let you keep pushing me around like this. I've already resigned from the company. Please sign the divorce papers as soon as possible." Victor's fury seemed to deflate halfway. He stood in front of me, refusing to let me leave. "Explain yourself. What divorce papers? Who said I agreed to divorce you?" "Victor, let me make it clear. I am the one who wants this divorce. And by the way, kindly move out of my house as soon as possible. And the money you spent on hotel rooms, dinners, and luxury goods with your beloved, perfect one. I'll make sure my lawyer gets that back too." After I left, Victor called me nonstop, but I simply blocked him. Once I resigned, I immediately joined my family's company. With a new business division being established, everything was in shambles, and I was swamped with work. I had no time to deal with the divorce and entrusted the matter entirely to my lawyer. Occasionally, I would receive messages from former colleagues at my old company. "Hey, since you left, the company's gone downhill. Lily struts around like she's the queen of everything. It's unbearable. She's acting like she's in charge of everything, yelling at one person or scolding another. It's a mess. Several of us are thinking about quitting." I comforted them patiently. "The job market is tough right now. Hang in there for a while longer." It wasn't just my former colleagues venting to me. A few suppliers we used to work with also complained. "Sophia, what's going on at your old company? Did they switch heads for the business division? Everything's a mess." I explained calmly that I had left the company and wasn't aware of the situation. The suppliers were surprised and expressed that they preferred working with me. Meanwhile, I was busy handling things for my new company, but issues kept cropping up on the legal front. My lawyer informed me that Victor was refusing to sign the divorce papers and insisted on meeting with me. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet him, accompanied by my lawyer. We arranged to meet at a cafe. When Victor arrived, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked haggard, his clothes were unkempt, and his overall appearance was far from the confident man I once knew. The moment he saw me, he became emotional. "Sophie, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Please come back home with me." "Victor, I think it's clear why I'm here to discuss the divorce, not to hear an apology." His face fell. "Sophia, why are you being so harsh?" "Yes, I made mistakes, ones any man might make, but I've realized my errors and I'm willing to change. Why do you have to be so unforgiving and insist on divorcing me?" I was at a loss for words. "Victor, our marriage broke down because of us, not anyone else. I no longer trust you, and I no longer love you." Victor's face turned ashen, and he muttered dejectedly, "I won't divorce you, Sophia. I still love you. Too little, too late." It was clear we wouldn't resolve the divorce today. My lawyer interjected. Mr. Victor, please coordinate with Miss Lily to promptly return the $5,000 my client lent her. Victor was taken aback. What, $5,000? I let out a cold laugh. Yes, $5,000. Surprising, isn't it? That's all you're worth. My lawyer calmly pulled out a recording device. Lily's pitiful voice played. Sophia, please help me. I'm really at the end of my rope. Victor forced me to be his mistress. He said I either give him $1 million or he'll blacklist me in the industry, making sure I can never find work again. He's awful, but I don't have the means to escape him. Sophia, please, I beg you lend me some money. Once I leave Victor, I promise I'll pay you back. Victor slumped into his chair, utterly defeated. As the new company's business began to pick up, I frequently traveled overseas to coordinate with factories. My dad assigned me a secretary, Ethan, a fresh college graduate. He was tall and had a cheerful personality. Ethan accompanied me on trips all over the world. The newly launched company faced harsh conditions, with countless tasks that needed urgent attention. Ethan was incredibly thoughtful and took great care of me. Over time, a camaraderie developed between us. One day, Ethan asked me, Sophie, I heard you're going through a divorce. Why's that? No real reason. I just fell out of love, I replied. Ethan blinked and asked, So, what kind of guy do you like now? I looked at his youthful, spirited face, smiled, and didn't continue the conversation. A few months later, I returned home to attend an industry summit. I reconnected with many former business partners, and we discussed my recent ventures. Everyone was reflective. They shook their heads when talking about Victor's company. They mentioned how chaotic things had become after I left. No one was properly managing the business division, and the company's financial situation seemed dire. I smiled politely and brushed off the topic, uninterested in hearing more. At the post-conference dinner, I bumped into Victor again. He clung to me persistently, despite my firm refusal to engage. Sophia, listen to me. I can't live without you. Please come back, he pleaded. Vic, there's no future for us. Please stop bothering me. No, Sophie, I still love you. I've broken things off with Lily completely because I know you don't like her. From now on, I'll only listen to you. I'm begging you come back. It was truly amusing. I shook off Ethan's arm and turned to leave. I hadn't taken more than 2 steps when someone splashed a glass of red wine right in my face. I froze for a moment, staring in disbelief at the person in front of me, Lily. Lily shouted at me in the banquet hall, her voice echoing loudly. Sophia, you keep saying you want to divorce Vic, yet you keep clinging to him over and over again. Heads turned toward us as the commotion drew everyone's attention. Calmly, I pulled out a tissue and wiped the wine off my face. Lily, let me set the record straight. It's your husband who keeps pestering me, not the other way around. But Lily wasn't done yet. She kept yelling behind me, I don't think I don't see through you. You've mastered this whole playing hard to get act, haven't you? Honestly, it's shameless. I don't care to discuss who is more shameless between us, Lily. But let me ask you one question. When do you plan on repaying the money you owe me? And by the way, this haute couture dress I'm wearing is worth $120,000. You've ruined it with red wine, and there are cameras all around capturing every detail. My lawyer will be in touch to recover the value of this dress. Lily, seemingly losing her mind, lunged at me as if to hit me. Out of nowhere, she was slapped hard across the face. I turned and saw Victor glaring at her, shouting furiously, Lily, get out of here. Get as far away from me as possible. Lily clutched the side of her face, which had turned bright red, and tearfully said, Victor, is this how you're treating me now? Fine, I'll leave, but don't you dare regret this. Victor then turned to me, reaching out as if to pull me close, but I pushed him away harshly. His actions disgusted me to my core. Victor, I don't need you to leave with nothing. Just sign the divorce papers as soon as possible. And even if you refuse to sign, my lawyer will file for divorce. I've gathered plenty of evidence documenting your infidelity. If those pieces of evidence are presented in court, I'm afraid no one's reputation will emerge intact. With that, I walked out of the banquet hall, unfazed by the astonished gazes of everyone present. 3 days later, my lawyer brought me good news. Victor had agreed to sign the divorce agreement. As for the $200,000 Lily owed me, they proposed repaying it in installments. I didn't mind. I agreed readily. At this point, all I wanted was for Victor to finalize the divorce so I could rid myself of these two toxic people and start anew. The lawyer asked me, "They've moved out of your house. What do you want to do with it now?" "Sell it," I said. It was the home I had painstakingly chosen when I married Victor, but now that chapter was over. I entrusted all divorce matters to my lawyer and threw myself into work. A while later, a former colleague reached out to me. "Sophia, I've got a bombshell for you. Vic is going to marry Lily." Hearing this so-called bombshell, I simply smiled without any emotion. "Good for them." My colleague scoffed. "Good, hardly. Apparently, Lily blackmailed Vic into it by holding evidence of his bribery over his head. The whole company is buzzing about it. And get this, Lily demanded the wedding be held at the best hotel in town, with everything top tier. She's practically throwing money out the window." I chuckled, suddenly understanding why Lily's previous husband went bankrupt after marrying her. He had gone from being a well-known trust fund kid to losing everything after tying the knot. Lily was nothing but a walking disaster. My colleague continued ranting. Vic had no choice but to embezzle company funds to cover her extravagance. The company's finances were already shaky, and now it's on the brink of collapse. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing blows up one day. When it does, I have no idea what'll happen to all of us employees. I reassured her, "Don't worry. If the company does implode one day, you can come to me." After all, we had fought side by side for years, and I'd help her if I could. A month later, news of Victor and Lily's wedding dominated all the media platforms. The opulence of their ceremony was jaw-dropping. It was obvious to me that Victor had drained every last penny for the wedding. But this was his dream come true. It was exactly what he deserved. Meanwhile, my new company was thriving, and Ethan contributed significantly to its success. The young man grew rapidly under the challenges of the new company. His hardworking and kind personality earned him widespread praise among our team. Not only did Ethan support me in work matters, but he also took care of me in the little details of life. My colleagues would occasionally tease me, "Sophia, it seems like Ethan has a crush on you." "Don't be ridiculous. There's a 5 or 6 year age gap between us," I'd reply. Even so, I couldn't help but notice Ethan's every action. One evening, Ethan accompanied me to a business dinner. While we were waiting for the driver in the lobby, he suddenly produced a bouquet of flowers from somewhere and handed them to me. I was startled and instinctively wanted to decline, but before I could, someone walked up from behind me, snatched the flowers from Ethan's hand, and threw them on the ground. The person then swung a fist at Ethan. Ethan, quick on his feet, dodged the punch effortlessly and landed a solid hit, knocking the man to the ground. I finally got a clear look. It was Victor. He was completely drunk, his mind fuzzy, and he kept shouting at Ethan, "Who are you? Who told you to send flowers to my wife?" I looked at his disheveled, despondent state with genuine disgust. It had been just over 6 months since we last met, but he seemed to have aged at least 10 years. Gone was the commanding presence of the corporate CEO he used to be. Ethan came over and asked me, "Sophia, who is he?" "No idea. Let's go," I replied. Just as I was about to leave, Victor crawled over, clinging to my leg and crying, "Honey, don't go. Please don't leave me." As I was struggling to free myself, Lily burst out from one of the nearby private rooms. The moment she saw me, she started yelling furiously, Well, Sophia, you're really something, aren't you? Seducing someone else's husband like that?" A small crowd began to gather around us, pointing and whispering. Just as I was about to explain, Ethan stepped in front of me. "Hey, watch your mouth," he said firmly. "I won't, you shameless woman, Sophia. Seducing someone's husband? How disgusting, you homewrecker." Lily was yelling at the top of her lungs when, out of nowhere, Victor slapped her hard across the face. Lily clutched her cheek, screaming, "You bastard, how dare you hit me? You're the real homewrecker if it wasn't for you playing the victim and seducing me into making a mistake, Sophie, and I would never have divorced you, vile woman. I could kill you right now," Victor roared. The crowd looked on, finally piecing the story together, and their eyes shifted toward Lily. Realizing she'd been exposed, Lily snapped and grabbed Victor by the collar, hitting him furiously. Chaos broke out as the two of them began to fight. Ethan quickly shielded me and led me away from the scene. On the way home, Ethan asked, "Sis, was that your ex-husband?" I stared out of the car window and didn't reply. Sis, now I understand why you're so cautious about relationships. You've been hurt before, he said softly. That's all in the past, I said after a pause. Now I just want to focus on moving forward. Ethan suddenly took my hand. Sis, you should move forward. That way you'll see that I've been waiting for you all along. I smiled faintly, intending to turn him down, but he interrupted me. Sis, you don't have to reject me right away. I'll prove to you with my actions that love can bring you hope again. That incident didn't affect me much, but it did lead to the complete collapse of Victor and Lily's marriage. Former colleagues later told me that Victor had become a shadow of his former self at the company, showing up in a sloppy, dejected state and neglecting his responsibilities. Meanwhile, Lily was decked out in designer clothes and dripping with jewelry, regularly showing up at the company to demand money from the accountant. When refused, she would throw a fit, flaunting her boss's wife, status, and berating everyone in sight. She was like a parasite, draining Victor dry. Colleagues would sigh, Vic is being completely bled dry by her. I remained silent. Their mess was none of my business. On the other hand, my overseas business ventures were thriving, and I spent half the year traveling abroad. At the end of the year, I returned to the main office to attend the shareholders' meeting. During the meeting, I learned that the company planned to acquire several struggling businesses. To my surprise, Victor's company was on the list provided by the secretary. I was taken aback. The secretary explained, their company is technically bankrupt. Rumor has it the boss's wife mortgaged the company, cashed out, and ran off with the money. Vic owes a large amount of debt and is reportedly suffering from severe mental health issues. After a moment of thought, I crossed Victor's company off the acquisition list. We don't need to take on companies with financial disputes, I said. After finishing work, I returned home to find that my parents, now both retired, were enjoying a leisurely life of gardening, taking care of their pets, and going on walks. When they saw me come home, my mom exclaimed excitedly, "We're having dinner tonight, so make sure you get ready and wear something nice." Mom, seriously, you're setting me up on a date the moment I come home? I groaned. It's not a date, just a casual family dinner. But there's a special guest, an old friend you won't expect, she teased. With no choice but to comply, I changed into a more formal outfit and prepared for the evening. That night, the guest turned out to be someone I truly didn't expect, our old neighbors from when my parents and I lived in Australia during my childhood. Back then, my parents were building their business in Australia, and I had spent my early years there until we moved back to the States in my teens. Our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, had been incredibly kind to us. They had a daughter and a younger son, as well as an adorable dog I used to love playing with. After so many years, seeing them again felt like reuniting with long-lost family. We embraced warmly and reminisced about the decades that had passed since we last saw each other. Mrs. Chen shared updates about their lives. They had stayed in Australia, where their daughter got married and recently had a baby boy. But our younger son is still single, she added with a chuckle. I laughed too, recalling the chubby little boy who used to follow me and his sister around. He would let us dress him up in princess costumes and serve as our model for hours. By now, he must be in his 20s, probably graduated from college. As we were chatting, the doorbell rang. My mom nudged me. "Go answer the door," she said. "Why me? Where's the housekeeper?" I asked, puzzled. Still, I got up and went to open the door. Standing there was Ethan, holding a large bouquet of fresh flowers and a round cake. I was taken aback and quickly pushed him away. "Why are you here? I have guests over today. It's not a good time for you to be here." "It's New Year's," Ethan said with a warm smile. "I brought you fresh flowers and your favorite cake. Do you like it? I waited in line for over an hour to get it." "Thank you," I replied, feeling a bit awkward, "but today really isn't convenient. How about we grab dinner another day?" As I was speaking, my mom suddenly appeared behind me. Upon seeing Ethan, she smiled and ushered him in warmly. "Oh, Ethan's here." Ethan, completely at ease, greeted her cheerfully and walked straight into the house. He made his way to the dining room, greeted everyone there, and then turned to wave at me, still standing frozen in the doorway. I was genuinely confused. When did Ethan get to know my parents? My mom came over and nudged me. "Why are you just standing there? Don't you recognize Ethan?" Of course, I recognized him. He had been my assistant for 2 years, traveling around the world with me, taking care of both my work and personal life. Think harder, my mom prompted with a mischievous smile. I was utterly baffled. Then Aunt Lindy chuckled and said, "He's Asher, Asher." Aunt Lindy's youngest son, Asher, the chubby little boy who used to follow me around everywhere. I was completely floored. Ethan was Asher. Ethan smiled at me knowingly, as if to say, "I can't believe it took you this long to figure it out." That evening, the family dinner was filled with laughter and joy, a rare sense of warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. As the night went on, the Ethan sitting beside me began to merge with the image of the chubby little boy in my memories. My dad revealed that after Ethan graduated from college, he was eager to return to the States to find me. But upon learning that I had just gone through a divorce, he applied for a job at my company and became my assistant, taking care of me in every possible way. I was deeply moved, though I couldn't understand why he had always been so attentive and caring toward me. Now I finally knew. I teased him, so my little Asher came back to play with his big sister, huh? Ethan looked at me with deep affection. "I've loved you since I was a kid. Honestly, who else would know that but you? And now, after all these years of waiting, will you marry me?" Shockingly, he knelt down and proposed to me right there, in front of both our families. I burst into tears. I had always thought Ethan's love for me was inexplicable, perhaps even calculated. At that moment, I finally understood. He did have a purpose, but it was a secret he'd hidden deep in his heart for over 20 years. I accepted his proposal. Under the witness of both our families, Ethan slipped a ring onto my finger. Our families wasted no time and began planning the wedding right away. While shopping for my bridal shoes at a luxury boutique, my mom and I ran into a familiar woman. The lady immediately pulled my mom aside and started chatting nonstop. Later, my mom told me about their conversation. Apparently, the woman's husband had been seduced by a gold digger recently. In retaliation, she had the gold digger sent off to a remote part of Central America. I was stunned, marveling at the woman's boldness, when my mom leaned in conspiratorially. "Do you know who the gold digger was?" she asked. I shook my head. It was Lily. That woman who specialized in preying on wealthy men, playing the victim, and using every dirty trick in the book. I shook my head in disbelief. Well, she got what she deserved. According to the lady, Lily was shipped off to international waters. Whether she's alive or dead now, who knows? I sighed and tried to steer the conversation back to lighter topics. Let's not dwell on these messy affairs. Now, help me decide which pair of shoes looks better.